All right, so you guys see my screen? Okay, great. So let's go to SPX. Okay. Now, looking at this is the daily chart. This is Doji on Friday. So, and it's about this, it broke this resistance line. So what I'm expecting is we see potential confirmation above 4718.50, which is high of Friday, or below 4681. If it gets below 4681 and it closes below this, we likelihood can pull back to 4635 and 4621. Okay, so this is healthy. Any kind of pullback for next week or two is healthy because we have extended a lot. And if you look at William percentage R, which I use a lot, look at this. There's a divergence, right? So this can just be a small dip, go back to the lows of this channel, and bounce from there, right? So next week, 2 weeks is, any kind of consolidation is good via time or price, and potentially set it up for move back up to into the Thanksgiving. Okay, so that's SPX. Uh, Apologize for this admit. SPY. Now, it's pretty much the same. All I want to do is below 466.92, right? Below 466, 467, it will head lower to 465. And then we have this support area, which is 460s, right? There's a potential we can see 454, but again, it might not happen, uh, you know, very soon, right? So the possibility can be like probably after Thanksgiving or etc. It just depends. But keep an eye on these levels because you want to make sure that, if you look at these SPY, 467 is key. If it breaks that, you can go to 460, and 454 is the old highs. The reason I mark 454 because this is the old highs, right? So we have not back tested this. We have just gone up, you know, almost came down, then just ripped up, right? So a potential back to test 460s and also 454 is possible, but might not happen. So just keep an eye on, the indices. IWM, Russell has been doing good. This is the ETF for Russell. If you look at, the percentage R, the MACD, it has a lot of room more upside. Okay, so we broke this old highs. The old highs is 234.53. And we broke this on volume. Look at this volume, huge volume, right? Uh, Last Friday, we moved up again, good size volume. So anything above 243.40, we have room to 250. And anything below this, we would back test 237, 234. So like the best case scenario is pull back and test 234 point and test 234 point what is that 234.53. Okay, this should happen. Just keep an eye on this. When this happens, it's a good spot to go long. So all the stocks which is under the Russell would be a good play. I mean, Russell will be in play, and normally November, December, Russell tends to move higher. So I'm watching for this 240, close below 240. It's a good shot for 237.50 and 234. And this is where, when 234, 235 comes, I'll go long. QQQ, there's again divergence on QQQ. If you look at the price on Friday, the volume was high as compared to the previous days, right? And a sell volume, and there's divergence on MACD. It shows you clearly. We hit 401, and also it's a round number, right? 400. So watch anything below 397. We can go back to the trend line support around 388. Also this 383, which is basically this consolidation phase before it took it out. You see this 382.71, 383, it tested few times before it actually head back up, right? It tested these old highs and then it ripped right away into the 400s. So any pullback, back test this 390 area and then 382. So we have not back tested this breakout, similar to IWM, right? Same thing. If you look at uh, the SPY also did, I mean, I would prefer a couple of days of back test before it heads back, but this is still fine. But it's clear in QQQ and IWM, there's not been any back test. It just tested the resistance few times, the old highs, and then ripped it. Look at IWM, tested it once, twice, ripped it, right? So watch for these back tests, and this is where you would want to go long, heavy long, but not at these highs right now, right? So position size is critical, so make sure you don't go too heavy. Let's go to Airbnb. Okay, so Airbnb, right? Now, I think I can just go to the charts here. Sorry. Okay, Airbnb. If you look at this, it had earnings last Friday, gapped up and broke with heavy volume, huge volume. Look at this volume. It's, you know, way heavy, right? So I'm expecting this to continue. So watch for Monday, any red to green, right? So basically it closed on 201.62. If it pulls back, it can pull back to this 193 area, pulls back to this 193, 194 area. It pulls here, this 194 area, then it's a good spot to go long. That's what we are looking at for entry. Okay, but if it gaps about 203, then watch if the gap fades. If it doesn't, then it's heading back to all-time highs, which is 220. So Airbnb is in play. Okay, Lucid. We took in play on Lucid, 40 calls, November 19. We did good. Heavy volume breakout on Friday. Look at these consolidation phase, right? On when is it? October 28th, there was a news and there was heavy volume breakout. And then next, it made new highs for the week. And then it pulled back. There was a consolidation phase where it was pulling back on low volume. Now it's back to testing this 41.6, which is the October 28th week. It closed above it, so that's healthy. So if watching Lucid for a gap up, if not red to green, if this gets into this gap fill area above 44, so 44 it would test. This is a good spot to take some profits, and once it breaks this 44 area, it'll get into this gap fill, which is 56. Sorry, this is the gap area, right? It's going to fill this gap area 56. So you have 50 and 56, 50 round number resistance, and 56 is the gap fill. So 44, take profits, write some, and look for the gap fill, right? That's what you need to look at. So Monday we see a follow through red to green or gap up. It will be day 2 and then potentially day 3, right? So there's a possibility that we see 50 and then consolidate again and then go fill 56, right? So that's when I would likely roll out to Jan calls, buy more time. So any consolidation, any pullback on low volume, I would continue to hold this Jan calls, after this November, we roll out of it. Okay. Asan, okay, I love this chart. So this one, look at this. Sorry for this. Okay, look at this. It's been consolidating. First, old highs to 124.85. It broke out of it, came back tested it, again bounced, back tested it again. Okay, it's a good pattern here, and it's consolidated all this while, right? My only concern is this MACD cross lower, and the percentage R also is pointing lower, right? So the key is it needs to close above 124.85 on daily. Okay, Friday it closed at 128.07, so that's good. So Monday, we need to see it hold this 124-ish area. And if it holds, then this bounces back up and we'll go back to test 135 zone. Breaks out of 135 on volume, we go to all-time highs and head toward 170. Okay. So how would I trade this? Uh, buy 2-3 months out expiration and scale into the position. Okay. So that's how. So the key is to watch this. If you look at the weekly, so if you look at the weekly, uh, there's clear divergence on weekly, but again, you need confirmation next week. So any close below 121 is a short, right? Any close below 121, which is another strong support zone. Look at this. September 13th week, it held 121. September 20, September 27th. So the support, this resistance turned into support here. So two ways to look at Asan. Because of the daily MACD crossing lower, there's a potential that we might see 121 and hold this on weekly. So if we hold 121 on weekly, this is where I would go long and buy 3 months out, 2-3 months out. This way, it would go for a break for 139 and head towards 150. So Asan is a good way to play this. Boeing had a good Friday. It ripped. So looking at daily, if you look at daily, let's remove this. Okay. Actually, put the indicator. So look at the volume on Friday. Heavy. You see this green? It's heavy volume on Friday. Okay. So Boeing broke out of this trend line, downward trend line, right? This resistance. So now what I need in Boeing is watch for a back test of 220 zone, right? This 222 or 220, 219, 222. If it back tests this breakout zone and holds, this is where I would, it's a good spot to go heavy long. If it breaks and gaps above 225 tomorrow, then it's heading to 229, 232. Okay. And then maybe once it gets to 232, there's a gap here at 234. It can either fill that gap and then pull back, right? So uh, watch Boeing. It can also give you an inside day tomorrow. So Boeing is a pretty straightforward here. Watch for a back test. If it doesn't happen in the next few days, then this heads to 232 and consolidates here and then heads back to 241, 250. Okay, so Boeing, I'll be looking to take some play on Monday. We'll scale in into, what do you say, November or December. And then if it pulls back, we'll add on this back test and then ride this higher. Okay, so these, when you look at the below levels and above levels, right? Boeing below levels are 222, 219.5, and 217 is the key, right? If it breaks 217, then it goes lot lower, right? So 217.7 is the gap area. Below it, the gap fill is 214.82. Okay, so likelihood it should backtest this breakout zone and hold and then head back up. So the other thing I keep an eye is this percentage, William percentage R. If you look at this, it's at, what do you say? Look at this, it's at resistance level, right? So it should likely dip. So it can consolidate via time or just pull back on a low volume with respect to the price. So scale into Boeing, that's the goal. Buy time and then, add on holding this trend line support. We can add back heavily once this breaks about 225. Okay, bookings. Booking had a great earning last week, and it just on the earnings, the next day of the earnings, it did not break out. It actually hit the all-time highs, which is 25.40, and then it pulled back on that earnings day, right? On basically on November 4th. On next day, which is the Friday, it uh, tested this old highs 25.16, which was the breakdown area on April 29. where booking was in downtrend. Okay. And then it broke, consolidated, and then it kept testing the all-time highs once, twice, thrice, fourth time. Okay. Now, booking looks good. About 26. This is a clear breakout on volume. So any red to green or any inside day tomorrow is a good buy. It's heading towards 2800. This is what I'm looking at. So 2645, 2700, and 2800. So that's what I'm looking at. So we'll do some plays on booking as well. Melly, great earnings. So something to note in Melly is that the yellow line that you see, that's the 200-day. It gapped above on last Friday, but it pulled back. It failed to close above 50-day. The red line you see is the 50-day. Now, what I'm watching at is the 200 MA is pointing towards down. So once it gets flat and rise up, it's going to be a strong buy signal. Okay, the confluence between 200 rising up and 50 days is a very strong buy signal. So it failed at 50-day and it also failed at this resistance. The price failed at closing about both these resistance, right? The trend line resistance and the 50-day. So little consolidation, and also attempt to test 1705 again, right? So we are like 80 points, 76 points. So watch next few days or a week for the 1706, 1705, and also this 200-day to start heading up. Once that happens, then we'll start getting into some longer dated calls because this has room to uh, 18, 1900. This has room to 1908. So there is a almost 250 to 300 points. Okay, there's also a gap here, 70-55. But yeah, I think once you see this 200 MA turns upside, there's a lot of room. We should likelihood go back to this 1900 zone, 1962, and then back to all-time highs. So I like Melly, but all of this will be looking at Jan calls or and test out with weeklies. So when we trade weeklies, remember folks, weekly, bi-weekly, go small size. Don't go heavy because you want to use weekly and bi-weekly to test your your patterns. You want to make sure that they break if the breakout is real or not, and then add to longer dated with buying time. Okay, that's where you make big money. Okay, Alta Beauty. This is heading to all-time highs. So this is heading to 398. So watch next week. We should likely test 398. Once we test 398, there's likelihood that we might stall here and then head for the gap fill, which is 402 something, right? And then 411. So all-time highs, I wouldn't be surprised with all-time highs on Alta. I think their earnings is coming soon, December 2nd. Okay. So Alta earnings is December 2nd. So I'm assuming we should see some gap fill and some consolidation sideways, testing this at the highs. And probably the week before or the week of earnings, we should make new all-time highs. So that's what I'm looking at Alta. Looking at the weeklies, it looks good. I love this pattern. 50 days rising, 200 days here. Let's look at 10 and 21. So if you look at the 10, the green, the price closed above it on weekly. The last few times, the price closed below it, right? A couple of times. Now it closed. So now if we get follow through about 392 and weekly close, this is heading to 410, 411, right? So weekly close 410, 411, and then consolidate, let the 21 MA catch up, and then break this into new all-time highs. So Alta has moved towards 490, 425. And there's a lot of room on William percentage R, MACD also showing signs that it would turn upside. Team, Inside week, I like team. We have been holding team position. This is falling wedge. Okay, look at this, right? So falling wedge. Also look at the volume, right? Beautiful setup, team. After the heavy breakout on earnings gap up, it's been doing its consolidation. All we need is with team 455 close. We get 455 close. This is heading back to uh, all-time highs and 500. So I will be watching team closely. Monday, if it get if it gets over 450, we can add, and if it gets above 455, it's worth adding more. So we'll buy more time on this. Okay, but team is something I'm watching closely. It's one of my go to stock right now. Trade desk. Trade desk has been selling off. So watch for 65 zone. I'm looking at this 65 zone. It's a support area. Okay. So look at, let's see, weekly. Yeah, 65 zone is support zone right here. Okay. The 65 zone support here. So watching for 65 and then reverse back up. That's what I'm looking at in trade desk. Also, let's see. Yeah. So see, this also coincides. So probably get below this trend line and then bounce up. So that's what I'm looking at, trade desk. So 65 zone and we'll take some play. I think they have earnings coming up. Yeah, November 8th. Oh, so it's Monday's earnings, trade desk, which is tomorrow. So potential for if we get 65 after earnings and then reverse back up. So I'll be playing trade desk. So this is something I'm watching for red to green or gap up play on earnings, if good earnings report. Okay. HC, another earnings player. Looking at weekly, it closed above 251.86, which is all-time highs, old all-time highs, right? And last week, heavy volume. So look at this heavy volume, right? So last week earnings, heavy volume breakout, it closed above it. So I'm watching for continuation back up to 283. If it holds this weekly highs of 251, this is heading back up. So look at daily, all it did is heavy volume breakout on earnings, low volume consolidation. So any pullback to 238 is a buy. Any break about 270, 271 is a buy. So that's what I look at Etsy. So Etsy looks good. This is again another, what do you say, earnings gap and play. Madonna. Okay. Two gaps down, right? So gap one, gap two. So Monday, watch another one. So if we get third gap down on Monday, this is a good play for long because likelihood we should bounce. We are in this 193, 196 zone. So um, we came last week to 210, 211. So watch this zone, which is what is it, 245. Yeah. So any close about 246, it's long for a gap fill at 278. Another gap down around 180, 196, 193 will go long because that would create three exhaustion gap down, and then that's basically a sign for reversal. So likelihood I mean, it would be a good if we get a third gap down to go long. Bill, last week it had earnings, great earnings, big breakout above the all-time highs of 313. It held. So Bill is any breakout about 343 is long towards 350 and 360. Anything below 315 is a gap fill. So likelihood we would consolidate in this area and then take it out. So keep these in watch list. Once it consolidates, then you take a play buying more time. Okay, that's with Bill. Okay, Bros, the last one in watch list. I did mention about Bros, to you guys So I like this chart. 62 is all the all-time highs, right? After the IPO, Bros broke to all-time highs, which is 62, and then it pulled back to 40s, and then consolidated and broke this, and then back tested here, which is on October 20 and 21. It back tested and it ripped into new highs to 80s. So I projected and I gave you guys these levels on Bros. Uh, if you take a look at, I think I posted So I think I posted on the Discord. So Bros is ready. So watching the 62 zone, if we test the 62 in next few days or this week, coming week or two on any market pullback, it would be a good spot to go long. But if it breaks above 72.50, $73, this spot, then it's heading back to 70, 78 and 81. Okay. So I think that's what I wanted to talk about the watch list. Uh, let's see. So, okay, so we've talked about the watch list. I can take probably few, I'll just take few questions and
Can
then
you
we'll wrap this up.
can you do
Uh,
the chart for F-firm, please?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
Can you do the chart for F-firm, AFRM?
Sure, sure. All
Thank
right,
you.
so let's look at. Okay. All right, so a firm looks fine. It's back tested and it's consolidated. It's been consolidating since what do you say, October 19. So let's look at the weekly. If okay, so if a firm holds this 162 zone, which is close above on Friday, so anything above 166, a firm goes back to 175. I'm bullish on a firm. I've been holding commons since 126. I think our firm is heading back to 200 in next couple of months. The reason is there's Target, Walmart. They signed a firm for the holiday season, so a firm looks good to me. Uh, Look at this low volume price moving higher, right? So there's a possibility we can see a pullback towards 150 zone and 150 zone, 150, 140 zone. But keep an eye on a firm. Any breakout above 169, it heads to that 175, 176 zone that I posted these levels long time ago, the 175 zone. So that's what a firm. It's better to buy time. Don't try to do weeklies because it looks like it needs some time to push to new highs. So watch next week. Above 166 is long for 175 still.
Thanks.
Uh, so okay, ask what should be the average position size on the weeklies. That depends on your account size. That depends on your what you willing to risk, right? So the best way is like go small. Like let's say go 25% on weekly. And then if you see the breakout confirms, then buy longer dated. Okay. That's what I would do with buying, buy time because time is what is going to help you make your big buck. Tesla, I saw Elon Musk announcing, putting a poll and, trying to, looks like he would likely sell Tesla shares for the tax purpose. But if you look at Tesla, it's holding this 1209. Okay, so it's about that. So it's about this breakout area, and it looks good. So there's a potential for Tesla to go back into 1300s. Let's see the weekly. Yeah, weekly Tesla has been very strong. But would I go heavy long or anything on Tesla here? No, because look at this 4 weeks of upside. it broke out of this 900 zone. So every time, when we see a breakout from, we always expect the price to be tested, the breakout level to be tested. Tesla broke out of 1209 900, and it just went up. It's never tested back. Now, I'm not saying it's going to happen in next few days or few weeks, but some time in future, it should go back and test this 900 zone. Okay. And also it hit my fib levels of 1224. So the next zone in Tesla is 1438 on weekly, and on daily, yeah, it's 1438. So close below 1209, it's a short to 1150 zone. Anything close above 1243, it's a long. Okay. So that's with Tesla. Oh, Disney upset. All right. So let's see upset and Disney. Upset looks good. The only concern is it's fighting this green MA, which is the 10 MA. Look at this. It failed on last Friday to close above it, failed on Thursday to close above it, failed on Wednesday, and and this was a failed breakout of old all-time highs, not the recent all-time highs, but before that the old all-time highs, which was 346.50. So it failed to close, hold above it. Okay, so the best way to go long on this, any close about 337, scale in, and any close about 347, you can add. Okay, you can either you can scale out or you can add. 347 close on daily would head back to 355, 370. So I like upset. William percentage shows me there's a lot of room to upside. All we need this MACD is to flatten and go up. Okay, and we need buyers to step in. So watch for heavy volume and solid candle, green candle day, and that's your cue for follow through days, potential follow through days. On weekly, it's been consolidating. It's been consolidating on sideways, waiting for the price 10 MA to catch up to the price. So now it looks ready. So anything close about 356, 363, it's a long. It'll go back to all-time highs on weekly. Okay. All right. So we'll do Disney. Okay. Let's see Disney. Okay. So Disney. Yeah, Disney failing to close above on weekly. It's below 10 and 21. So these when you have two MAs, what do you say, confluencing together or being acting as a resistance, that's pretty strong. Okay, so best way to go long is wait for 177 close on weekly. Any close above 177 and above 50-day. 50-day is 178. So yeah, so the best is to wait for this 180 close. So 180 close would basically mean closing about 6 weeks of this resistance. Okay, so Disney, wait for 180 close. If you get 180 close, that's a good way to go long. Yeah, so I think 180 close is what I would look at. So this is what I look at. I would look at 177, 180 close. If you close 180 on weekly, then it's a good long play, Disney. Okay, on daily, it's a gap up. So yeah, again, it closed below 50. So watch, it should likelihood test this 170, 180. It should test 179, 180 this coming week. So keep an eye on this. Close above 175, 70. You can trade for $5 move to test this, and then take it from there. Okay, so talked about Tesla, a firm upset. Uh, are you expecting a pullback with such a strong run? Should we? So I did tweet last week to you guys that go small size, reduce total number of trades, trade size, and have less position just to wait for some consolidation phase to complete. Because once consolidation is over, you're going to get much better opportunities. But I'm still looking at plays from earning stocks that have actually gapped up, and I've ran on heavy volume, like Team, Boeing, Airbnb, Roku. These are the stocks that have actually gapped up, and I've ran on heavy volume, like Team, Etsy, look at them. They have been consolidating really good. These are the place I'll be looking at going long place. So I'll be posting alerts on those. All right, so I'll take four more charts, which is
What on
Novavax.
MongoDB?
Yeah, let's do Novavax. Okay, close above 167. You can go long for a gap fill to 175. So vaccine stocks looks like Moderna is the best in vaccine stock because there are two gap downs. If you get the third one, then I'll be looking at going long. Novavax is good. It's almost doji close. So close above this 166 is heading towards 175 gap fill. You have BNTX, BioNTech. It's only one gap down. So Moderna is a much better long play, I feel, if you get the third gap down. Okay, that'll create an exhaustion gap pattern and reversal signal normally. Uh, yeah, Novavax, that's what it is. Futu, uh, yeah, avoid. I think I would just avoid Futu because it's just been not able to stay above the 10-day all along. Look at this. And then 21 days pulling lower as well. So there's a potential that it's going to cause more pressure and you might get small bounces, but yeah, I think Futu is getting, let's look at the weekly. Okay, so it's held the support. So 3670 is a really strong support zone. If we fail to hold this 50 zone, this is heading towards this 36, 37. This is where I would go long on Futu. So keep an eye on these two candles, this weekly candles. Any close below 50 is a short. Any close above 63 is a long to 74. But keep an eye on this. There's a very critical zone here. 50 on weekly close below it is a short. Okay. There was a MongoDB, very strong stock, broke out on weekly on volume. Okay. So there's no back test on this on weekly. So watch above 557, it's heading to 600s. On daily, if you look at daily, okay, look at this. This is what I look at in most of the stocks. Okay, you have a breakout of all-time highs, 525. It tested once, twice, three times, four times, failed, and then it broke. Okay, now ideally you want a back test because you want the resistance has now broke out of the resistance. So we want a back test. You want to see the 525s and 518 to hold. If it holds this, you go long. So this is where you get a re-entry opportunity. Okay. So you get a back test, wait for the back test, and then you go long. So it heads to 600, right? So and now, not necessarily, it might not happen right away. It might just go above 5%, head to 600, and then pull back to the zone. Okay, you have to look at the overall market as well. So keep an eye on this. Always look for backtest. Google, okay. We did great with Google last week, right? We took the 3,000 calls, we took the 2950, 3,000 call spread. It went to Friday to 3,006. Our call spread were like $50 in the money. So we really crushed Google. Now, Google, what is it doing? It broke out of this 2973. It's closed above it. Okay. So watch this 2973. If it holds this, it heads back up to 3035. If it fails to get over 2973, then it's going to go back and test this 2925 zone again. Okay. So that's how I would trade Google. All right, guys. I think that's pretty much. Okay, just last two. Okay, ZM and Roku, and then we'll call it a night. ZM, yeah, I think it's below all the moving averages. That's one thing. Second, it's gap down on volume. So any bounce, it's going to test this 279 zone. Okay, unless it gets above 279, I wouldn't go long. Below it, it's just going to back test this and head back to this 250 zone. So Zoom looks like 250 is on cards. Yeah, I think even lower. Okay, yeah. So yeah, Zoom looks like 250, 242. This is the zone. Zoom looks like it's going to head towards that. So yeah, Zoom is watch unless close about. Yeah, I think Zoom 250 looks like a likelihood spot unless it closes about 280. Okay, that's when I would go long. Otherwise, you're just going to, get premium cuts. Roku, it's I'm long in via comments in Roku. I've been talking about Roku. Uh, this is what I'm looking at. So Roku, last time it tested this 21 day moving on monthly was March of 2020. Okay, it's now testing here, right? So it's almost more than a year, not almost more than a year. So key is to hold this 21 moving average, which is 273, 272. This is a very important zone. If Roku fails to hold this, its potential is to go towards 175. It can go to 175. Okay, so uh, monthly watch 272. It should hold that area. Uh, yeah, 272 is a very important zone. If it fails, then we are heading to 200, 200 and 175. Uh, I'm not going to trade Roku on long side. Unless 272 holds, I wouldn't trade Roku on long side. Roku is having a lot of negative news too. So that's also going to play a key role on pushing Roku down. Okay. So better to wait on, there are much better stocks out there. So I would rather trade those than trade Roku on long side. Santosh, what was your question? Okay. Which trigger at market open when IV is high, but on other hand, not take anywhere. All right. So see, you're basically scalping, Santosh. On when I'm giving, a lot of people have been requested for pre-market trade ideas. Okay. So the pre-market trade ideas, when I give, look at the levels that is provided. Okay. For example, let's take at Lucid. Okay, for easy understanding. Now, if Lucid gaps above 42, and I put a pre-market trade idea where, break above 42, you can get into 44 calls. So if it gaps above 42, you can scale into a small size of 44 calls and see if it holds this 42 zone. It can be 15 minutes, it can be an hour, it doesn't matter, right? But it needs to hold this 42 zone, 4190. So it gaps above, scale in small, don't go full size, goes to 44, take some profits and hold the remaining. If it pulls back to 42 and see if it closes below it. If it holds above it, then you can add again and you can write to 44, or you can wait till 44 breaks out for a gap fill area, which is 50, 56. Okay. That's how you trade pre-market trade ideas. Okay. It breaks above a trigger level, you're basically scalping it. You take profits quickly and you get out. Now you can take all of it out and then wait for an hour for the price to settle down, and then see if it broke those critical morning highs, morning hourly highs of hourly time frame highs, etc., and you can add back to it. Okay, if this is how you scale, if that doesn't work for you, then just buy long term and don't worry about it. Okay. Facebook. Facebook closed below 50-day. It tested it. So watch for close below 339 is 337 gap fill. Close about 347. It's heading back to 355, 361. So that's what I look at Facebook. All right, guys. This is pretty much what we have today. Thank you so much for joining the session. I'll post this recording for you guys to, watch it again.